Well, good morning, folks. It's Richard the Fishing Machine here. It is a windy, late summer morning. Now, fall is approaching. It's not going to be long, just a handful of days, and fall will officially begin. But now this morning, it's about 65 degrees this morning. We've been having some cool nights for the last couple, well, actually for the last week. And the water temperature is starting to fall, and these crappie are starting to move. So what we're going to do today is get out here and see if we can't catch us a handful of crappie for supper. If I could catch me 5 or 6 keepers, that'd be good enough or so. Right now, this morning, currently it's 78 degrees. And there's a lot of shad up under this bridge right here, which is a bridge I've fished before, but it's been a while. It's been a long time since I've fished this bridge. But I see some shad, and they look like they're about in the middle of the water column. So what I have right here is a 7-foot Canyon Creek super ultralight rod, wimpy, limber as a fly rod, with a Johnny Morris size 2000 size reel loaded with 2-pound test high-vis vicious monofilament line. Now this is a 1/80th of an ounce jig head, and that's a size 8 hook with a Bobby Garland itty bit. And that's a natural looking shad color. I like several of these. The colors that Bobby Garland makes that represent shad, I just love how they put those colors together. Now I'm just tying a uni knot right here onto this 2-pound test line. That's a good knot. A Palomar, no doubt, or a uni knot. But what we're going to do is see if we can, we're going to semi-vertical jig up under this bridge and see what we can do. So y'all hang with me a few minutes and let's see if we can catch a few crappie. I don't know what that is, but I feel good. I said that I do now. Alright, folks, let's go on up here where I seen those shad right there. I could have swore I seen them around 6 or 7 feet deep. But this is the bait we're using right here. It's called the Itty Bit Swimmer. Let's just put it that way. It's the specs on it. It's an inch point 25 in length. Jointed body, tight action. When these baits first come out years ago, I immediately started catching crappie on them. I was looking for a bait, which there's other baits that I use, folks, not just Bobby Garland. There's all kinds of baits I use. But this is a good little profile when it comes to fishing for crappie in hot water conditions, which the water is cooling down right now, but the shad that they're feeding on right now are very, very small. So probably not quite as small as this bait, but probably close. And that's one reason why I'm using it. And also the water is still close to 80 degrees. Like I said, it's 78 on top right now. So it's probably going to reach 80 degrees, 80, 81, 82 degrees by this afternoon, I imagine. It's pretty early in the morning. But that's what we're using right here. And I'm using it, like I said, on a 1/80th of an ounce jig head. Now the reason these crappie are here is because there's a lot of bait fish, you know. So I teach to follow the bait fish. Follow the bait fish. Let's pitch it right in there like that. And the wind has died down. It's blustery. It'll blow for a little while, then it'll quit. But I've got that bait about 6 feet deep right now. Barely twitching it. I'm actually trying to fish above those shad just a little bit. I always do that. If those fish are in the shad, they'll come out of those shad to get this bait. That's how good their eyesight is. Even in stained water, like we have here on the Coosa River, they can see. Now it's easy when you're using a 1/80th of an ounce jig head on 2-pound test line, and the fish ain't but 6 to 8 feet deep. Even though it's windy, it's pretty easy to maintain that depth. Because remember, crappie is a lazy fish, so you don't have to do anything but keep it at the depth and just barely move that jig to get that strike. It don't take much movement at all. Now, they're aware of everything that's going on down there, folks. And they're not. I mean, everything down there, they're seeing it. They're that way. If you notice, crappie has really big eyes for their size, so they're a remarkable sight feeder, and their lateral line is second to none. So they're equipped to where they know everything that's going on around them. So working a jig real slow fits a crappie's nature, because like I said, they're not a real, there he is, aggressive fish. So right now, keeping that bait in front of them is going to be the key to catching these little fish. Now there's one about 8 inches long. Pretty little black crappie right there. Okay, let's get our forceps and get him loosed and get him back. Okay, yep. All right, go on back, little fella. Grow up. You got to get bigger than that now. Let's pitch it back. Now the wind has quit again. That's the way it works here on this mountain. It'll be windy for 10-15 minutes, and all of a sudden it's not. I just got a little bite right there, so I'm at the right level. He blowed it out before I could stick him, but he did bite it. There he is. A lot of little ones in here. I mean, it's absolutely full of little ones. But that's fine. It's good, like I've always said, it's good practice. Quit. That's the least that I've caught. That one's 6.5 inches or so. Go on back. That is such a good sign, though, to see that, folks. These little baits right here, I have caught huge crappie with these little 1.25 baits. 1 inch to 1.5 inch baits. Let's just put it that way. And the reason is crappie feed on tiny, tiny stuff. Insects, minnows, I mean all of it. There he is. There's a pretty good fish right here. There's another one. He's on this other column over here though. Come on out from there. Let's see how big you are. Wow, this could be a keeper right here, folks. This rod right here is something else. It is so limber. I thought it was a white crappie for a minute, but it's a black crappie. Let's get right here and net him. Come on in here. I don't even see that jig. That jig is absolutely gone. There we go. Yeah, that's our keeper. That's probably about 11.5, 12 inch fish right there. Let's see. Quit. Tell y'all what, that little hook will stick them. That's a little size 8. Now I've got some jig heads in there that's got a size 10. That's a keeper. Quit. Let's put him in the bucket. Well, we've caught 2 right there. Pretty doggone quick. Let's go up there on that column again. See if we can catch another one. The wind got a hold of me and blowed me. I don't have spot lock. I just had some shad go under the boat right here. Let me show y'all what I'm talking about. Y'all look at the shad right there. That's what I'm talking about. And that's what these fish are following right now. And those are probably little bitty shad. And they're about 6 feet deep. That's how deep I'm catching the fish. 6, 7 feet deep. All I'm doing right here is letting the bait fall 6, 7 feet deep. Now it takes it a little while to do that because I'm using a 1/80th of an ounce, which sounds a little bit too light, especially in this wind. But like I said, I'm using 2-pound test line, so that's going to allow me the fish, especially 6 feet deep, folks, without any trouble, because I'm using this little 2-pound test line. And these fish has moved just a little bit, which they're going to do. They're following these shad through this bridge, and a few's hanging around. Then they're leaving, so they're moving a lot. This is the time of the year where crappie really move, and I mean they're hard to keep up with. A lot of times you can leave for a few minutes, folks, and they'll come back. That's a little trick. Yeah, see right there? There we go. They come back. Wow. Let's get him back over here. Yep. That's probably a keeper right there. That's probably the keeper. Quit. You fighting son of a gun, you. Alright, we got him. Yeah, that's gonna be a keeper fish right there, I'm sure. And that jig is gone. Golly, I want y'all to look at that. Look how far down that is. But it's barely hooked, so that's good. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh yeah, we're gonna keep him. That fish was 10 3/4. That's a pretty good fish for today. But that's a great little trick, folks, to use. And it works. Just leave the area that you're catching crappie out of when they get slow or completely quit. And they come back and they'll regroup. There we go. That was a good thump. Real good thump. Now watch, good fish. Good one. Look at there. Well, he won't quit. Yeah, that's a good one. That might be the biggest one I've caught. Oh, it is. Yeah. Well, yeah, I reckon we'll keep him. We'll just go ahead and keep that fish. Come on in here, boy. That's a good crappie right there. There ain't nothing wrong with that, folks. My goodness. Yes, I've done kept more than what I thought I was going to. Golly, that's a good one right there. That one right there is 11 and a half, 12 inches long. Let's see. Oh no, he ain't. He's almost 11 inches. But we're gonna throw him in the bucket. We're catching the crappie right now. No doubt. Now folks, as far as setting a hook, I get a lot of questions about that using 2-pound test line. Well, a rod, I don't really call it setting a hook. I call it a rod sweep. And that's when you get bit, just come up with your rod. When you're using, even if you're using a super limber rod like I'm using right now, which I would recommend when it comes to 2-pound line, I always use a wimpy wimpy rod. In my opinion, you're going to be a lot better off, but it shouldn't be a jerk. It should just be raise up against the fish type action, you know, because, you know, you're using 2-pound test line, and you have to be aware of that at all times. Because if you don't, you're going to get a lot of broke lines. Even with crappie 10, 11 inches like we're catching today, these ain't very big crappie. We just got a little touch right there, but they're still big enough to pop 2-pound test line if you set the hook too hard. And I believe that's a good point to raise. But just raise up against the fish. We'll demonstrate that just right here in just a second, which I should have done because I get a lot of questions about that. I get in the habit of saying setting a hook, but it's not really setting the hook like you would on a bass, especially with this light line. It's just raising up against the fish. There he is. Golly! That fish hammered that, man. Wow. Come on up here, boy. My goodness, that fish hammered that. He meant to have it. With that. Look at there, folks. That's when you know they want it. When it's deep like that, they want it. That's amazing to me how hard these fish are hitting. They're chasing shad, that's why. All right, folks, I caught more than I wanted. I really did. I think there's 8 or 9 good eating size crappie in there, and that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. Really, I wanted 4 or 5, to be honest with y'all, but I couldn't quit. I just couldn't quit. They was biting too good. And y'all know how it is. When they're biting too hard, well, you can't hardly quit. All right, folks, I'm home. We're fixing to clean these and eat them. And those crappie is what I consider a little kind of on the small side. They're averaging around 10.5 inches long. Even though I've got some 11s and I maybe one a little over 11, they're averaging around 10.5 inches long. So that's a perfect size for me. Now the way I'm going to clean them is the way that I clean smaller panfish like bluegill and shellcracker. To me, it's the best way to eat them. But I'll show you how I do it. It's easy, straight to the point, and to me, like I said, it's the best tasting. You can taste the fish. Here's my biggest crappie here. That fish is about 12.5 inches, and then they on down the line, but you can see for the most part these fish are pretty small. Well, from about right here on down that way, they're averaging about 10.5 inches long. So like I said, this is a perfect way, or the way I like to clean these fish. And I didn't clean, I didn't catch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I didn't keep but 8 of them, but I bet you I caught 50 crappie, and I released 4 or 5 that would have kept. I didn't really want but about 5 fish to eat. So let me put it like this. I'm going to show y'all the way I like to eat crappie when they're this small. Now I do love to fillet them if they're about this size right here and bigger, but if they're this size here, this is the way I like to fix them. And by the way, these are all black crappie right here. I never caught the first white crappie, not the first one, but I like to use a spoon. Now, I've been using a spoon ever since I was a kid. I feel like it's probably the easiest way to scale any panfish. So we're just going to scale him real quick. I could do this quicker, but I'm going to have to keep it in frame. Y'all know everything's more difficult when you got it on camera. everything, but make sure you get all those scales off. That's one thing I can't stand. I can't stand to get a scale in my mouth while I'm eating them. I just can't. So I'll wash these 2 or 3 times before I let Mama Sue cook them, because I got to make sure that there's no scales at all on these fish. But I do everything the easy way, the simple way. I believe that simple is better. And what we're going to do is, and I always go way up here high. I try to get as much meat as I possibly can. But we're going to cut his head off. Just like that. Goodbye head. Okay. And then right here, I go about where that fin is, and I make a cut like this. Remove all the intestines like that, and just wash him out real good. Okay. That's all you gotta do, just wash him out real good. Now you got some white stuff in here that's lining his, I guess you'd call it his cavity, chest cavity or whatever. And I pull as much of that out as I can. And that's all there are to it. I leave the tail and everything on, folks, so that one's done. Alright, folks, let's scale this fish. What I use is a spoon. Just a spoon. Been doing it for years. So we're going to knock all these scales off. And it don't take but just a New York second to do it. Really, I'm a lot quicker if I don't have this camera on, but I got to keep everything in frame the best I can. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. Now I'm going to take the water hose and knock those scales off, just like that. Then we're going to cut his head off. Goodbye head. Okay, just like that. Then right here, below this fin, I'll just make a little cut like that and remove them intestines just like that. And we're about done. Just clean that chest cavity out with the water hose. Get all that white stuff out that lines, or most of it. See it right there? You can just pull it out there. Sometimes you have to get a knife and scrape it a little bit, but anyway, that's the way we do it. Whole fryer, that's the way I like them. Tails and all. Tail and all.
Well, I'm cooking some fish today.
No, wait, you gotta wait until it primes up.
I'm cooking some fish today, and this is what I like to use. Buttermilk cornmeal mix for my crappie.
Start over.
I put my corn mix, started putting my corn meal mix in a bag. I put some salt in there. I put some pepper in there.
Now, how do they know how much to put in?
Everybody's different, huh, son?
You just put in whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess whatever.
Whatever your nose can stand. The pepper gets to my nose sometimes. Then I go and I buy me some light taste frying, baking pan olive oil.
I can't stop it. Wait, I'm gonna have to leave there.
It's okay.
I put some oil in like this. Cover the bottom. Now I got my bag of cornmeal and I'm going to throw 2-3 fishes in there and coat them, shake them about, close them up. Shake them all about. When you're good and coated, put them in the pan. Like that. I got my pan on, yeah, about medium. About medium. And if you want to add a little bit more salt or a little more pepper, you can.
What, while they're cooking?
Yeah, while they're cooking.
The grease is hot enough to start cooking. Yeah. It's supposed to be hot enough when you stick them in there. It's supposed to be immediately.
Now why don't you cut and start cooking me supper then? You're not over here. You're laughing at the table.
Ooh.
And that's how I do it.
How long you gotta cook them? How do they know when they're done? And
Well, I know when mine are done when I flake up part of the skin and the meat looks done. It don't look pink anymore. When they get brown on one side and you put your fork in there and you feel that it's tender, everything's tender, or you could poke up part of your skin and feel the fillet will not be pink anymore. It don't take long for fish to cook or fry. I put a paper towel on my plate so when I take out the fish, it can get some of the oil off of it. Now folks, eating the fish this way, you could get a bone in your throat. Be careful. As far as children, it's up to you. You can, you know, pick the bones out to where they can eat it. But even, you know, the little kids can get them caught in their throat. So be careful, everybody, cooking them this way.
This is the way I like crappie. You get the real natural fish taste like this, in my opinion. Can't beat it. God bless each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all for everything y'all do. All the great comments. I read them all. And God bless each and every one of y'all. Hey, whoa. Whoa. Oh, the adrenaline is just now starting to pump. Why did it take so long for the adrenaline? Hey, man, whoa, whoa. And remember, go fishing when you can, because it's good.